What are you going to do when you get into the office the next day? Your boss tells you, hey, it's yearly evaluation time. Get into the office. Well, the problem with that is one, you're going to dread it. It's unexpected. Everybody hates quote unquote tests and evaluations and all these things. But the reality is really that performance evaluations, be it for employees, for yourself, for your own finances, for your statistics on SEO, how well you're doing on social media, it can't just be a yearly thing. One is that you're not just not going to have enough data and know what's going on throughout the year, because a year is a really long amount of time, especially to get some data. But the other thing is you can build up a whole lot of issues that simply are just not getting addressed in a time. So in today's Morning for Visionaries, we're covering performance evaluations, kind of in the general sense, what to do about them, and some good ideas for, well, doing them more often. So idea number one for doing them more often is do them more often. I know that sounds kind of silly and stupid, but bear with me for a minute. So let's say you do some sort of performance evaluation just once a year. Again, be it for employees, for yourself, your own finances, your goals. So, and that's the only ones you do. That whole year, you're trying to achieve these things. You're trying to achieve that goal. You're trying to get towards that place you want to go. And you're trying your best, hopefully, and you don't know how you're doing. And that's the problem already. If you're working with a partner, a teammate, vendors, coworkers, whatever, and only that one time per year somebody tells you how you're doing, you're never really going to know if you're doing great or not. So the question comes in, well, how am I supposed to improve if nobody ever tells me anything? And it might come to the point where that one time in the year you get there and everybody says, "Oh my gosh, this person, you're doing so horrible. You have a bad attitude. You're not keeping up with the schedules. You're just not getting any of these things. You're just a horrible person to work with." And you're like, "Oh my gosh, I never knew because nobody ever told me." But yet it was all written out on these anonymous comment cards. Same thing for your SEO stats, your social media information, and all these things. If you're not keeping up with all of this regularly, you're going to end up screwing yourself over because you don't know what's going on left or right or up or down. So, now with that, we have that little example through. Let's go with the idea of, employee performance evaluations. Yes, you should probably have any type of really formal evaluation. You should have one at least once a year. A proper, full, formal one. Yes, at least once a year. Once a year is fine, preferably 2 or 3 times in a year. Definitely a formal one. From there, you should have a bare minimum of monthly checkups. You can call them that, informal evaluations to see how the person's progressing, how your things are going along. Now, that applies even more so to yourself. And if you're working with, just like I'm working with my wife, so we do weekly and monthly and quarterly checkups on our finances, our goals, our general progress reports, our client intake, how are our processes doing. And we check up on all of these things. And weekly, we check up with all our teammates to see what's going on, what have they done, what are they planning, are there any grievances that they have, what can we do better. We're doing all these things regularly so that we can have ample amount of time to adjust and know that this issue has happened, that these things aren't going as well, or these things are going well, and we should be doing more of those. This thing's going okay, we can improve these things. And if we only did that once a year, we'd never know. We'd have a hostile working environment because nobody told us that. Maybe we're horrible bosses. I don't know. I hope I'm not. I hope I'm a good boss. But I don't know if nobody tells me. And by having a formal evaluation or performance checkup, whatever you want to call these things, once a formal one once a year, and then less formal ones, and especially really informal ones, very regularly, you'll get to know what's going on very quickly. So, how do these things work? Well, the formal ones, run them as however you'd like, as long as they're formal, structured, and you get the big items out and you review that whole full year. So that one's that. Do it however way you want. Usually probably will take, depending what you're doing, of course, a bare minimum of half an hour probably take you. Ours usually take us, the yearly ones take us a few days. Not all at once, like several hour blocks for a couple of days. Informal ones are pretty easy. Just talk. Hey, John, just tell me, how, actually, I'll guide you through our weekly meetings, our weekly team call meetings. So we all jump on the call and we say, hey, what'd you do last week? How's it going? Are there any problems, issues, anything we can catch up on, any big issues we need to know about? From there, we kind of dive into our own teams and we discuss. For me, it would be talking with the dev team and the strategy teams to see, well, are there any specific nerdy things or strategy things we should be working on? What things did we miss? What things are on track or not on track? Where can we help each other, help understand? What can we move forward? Here are the new updated deadlines. You have to talk about these things. Yes, everybody hates all of these. Oh, I hate company meeting times. Well, the you really are, hate it or not, you are going to have to do these company meetings and go into these meetings because you need, especially as the leader, you need to know what's going on. And without going to meetings, without talking to employees, teammates, vendors, partners, husband, wife, you're never going to know. So, formal meeting, full formal evaluation review, whatever you want to call it, once a year per topic at least. Or if you want to kind of clump it together, that's fine too. Monthly meetings, a bare minimum of monthly meetings to review that month and what's going on next month. Weekly meetings, preferably, also for quick informal things to see what's going on in the teams. Are there any big items that you should need to know and address going forward? And quarterly meetings to generally plan the quarters and go forward with those and see, what did we do last quarter? What did we not? What do we need to reschedule for next quarter so we can keep planning and adjusting the bigger items? They're not as big as the yearly ones, but the quarterly ones that lead us to the yearly one. So, quick food for thought about performance evaluations, because performance evaluations aren't just for employees, they're also for yourself, for social media, for your SEO, for your blogging, for your video creation. For example, one of my performance evaluations and goals and data points for this year, 2020, is video. So, and I think I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing one every workday-ish, depending if I'm sick or not, and I think I'm getting sick. But other than that, if I'm awake and my voice works, I'm doing one video every workday. So at least one video. So I think I'm good on that metric. So rank yourself, rank your coworkers, but don't just do one a year or one every long time and just not communicate. That's going to end up screwing you over, and that's going to be just not great. It's just like if you're married and you never discuss your grievances ever. Or maybe, you know how the joke is that a lot of people hate Christmas time or Turkey Day because that's when the whole family gets together, and that's like the really only time that everybody complains about each other. Don't you all see the issue with that? If you don't communicate throughout the year, see how you can improve. Well, then of course those family meeting times turn to a crazy hot melting pot of craziness. So communicate more, communicate often, and performance evaluations, the formal ones, should happen regularly so that nothing's a surprise by the time somebody gets to the yearly evaluations, whatever that may be, and everything goes as expected, and you can adjust when things don't go the way they need to. So that's it for today's Morning for Visionaries. Remember, formal evaluations, good, regular, more informal, very, very regular evaluations, also really, really good, and probably even better than the yearly formal ones. So that's it for today. Signing off. Doodles.